Hello everyone, I am James Shuarni Blando. I am tasked to discuss about intended learning outcomes for our Nursing 306 Instructional Program Supervision. Objectives are the following. First, discuss the meaning and importance of learning outcomes. Second, state an examples of learning outcomes. Third, identify some recommendations. Fourth, share and revisit learning goals and outcomes with the students. Fifth, ask students about their intended learning outcomes. Six, which is also the last one, monitor student progression in achieving outcomes. Intended learning outcomes can be defined as a particular knowledge, skills, and abilities that an instructor intends for students to learn or develop. Outcomes are more specific than learning goals. Research suggests that when they are well written, clear, and measurable, learning outcomes can improve learning and motivate student engagement. Research shows that learning outcomes improve learning when they describe specific, measurable takeaways. But this is according to Richmond et al. 2016. The backward design process helps achieve these outcomes through alignment, where learning outcomes are written first during course development to serve as a framework from which all class activities and assessments are selected or designed. This is according to Wiggins and McTighe 2005. Once outcomes are mapped backward to activities and forward to larger learning goals, instructors can consider assessments, both weekly and final, that measure student progress toward attaining learning outcomes. Examples: learning goals and outcomes can be written for entire courses as well as for the individual classes. They are generally written with an action verb such as define, synthesize, or create, and a noun describing specific content, concepts, or skills. Recommendations: follow the ABCD guide. ABCD stands for audience, behavior, condition, and degree, and describes the major components of an intended learning outcome. Instructors can develop learning outcomes by following the ABCD guide. Audience describes the intended learners of a given outcome, typically students. Behavior is a verb describing understanding, cognitive growth, or a skill that learners will develop. Explain, analyze, and create. While condition describes physical and temporal features of the outcome, within, undergirdling, or verbally by the end of a term. Degree describes the level of attainment independently or fully. Design learning outcomes at multiple levels of Bloom's taxonomy depending on the learning goals of a course. Instructors can consider writing learning outcomes that span multiple levels of cognition delineated through the reversed or through the revised Bloom's taxonomy by Krathwohl 2002. The lowest level of Bloom's taxonomy, remembering, focuses on a student recall of information, while the highest, creating, addresses how students can synthesize multiple elements to develop a new idea or product. To encourage higher order thinking, instructors can consider designing outcomes beyond the remembering and understanding levels. Descriptions of each level are delineated below alongside sample action verbs for each level. Share and revisit learning goals and outcomes with students. As learning goals and outcomes serve as a framework for the course, instructors should share them on course syllabi and refer to them throughout the semester. In addition, learning outcomes can be shared at the beginning of class and revisited at the end of class. Ask the students about their intended learning outcomes. Research indicates that students respond positively to questions about their own goals for learning or taking a particular class. Ambrose 2010. Instructors can engage students in questions about their learning in the first class session and discuss ways to align their goals with intended learning outcomes. Monitor student progression in achieving outcomes. Develop ways to assess whether students are working towards particular outcomes, in addition to essays, quizzes, and exams. Formative assessments such as think or pair share, 1 minute papers, or clicker questions and general questions posed to the class can help instructors monitor student progression towards achieving learning outcomes and modify instruction as needed. The fundamentals questions that need to be asked about learning outcomes is what are the intended outcomes of the learning experience for students? First, in knowledge and application of knowledge. Second, action process competencies including generic skills. Third and the last is development of self.